Good evening, everyone, and welcome to San Antonio by Nights, Episode 9. The last we left off, our coterie, known as the host, had looked. We're looking into a missing coterie member, who had left without saying a word to either M or Urien, and seemed to have left his haven behind, his new home behind, and thanks to M's ability to reach beyond into the universe and peer into what could potentially be, what is, and what was, she was able to track him down to a secluded area outside the city in a bit of the rural areas just off the interstate going north. The pair and their thin blood companion Alfonso reach their destination and find Wolf had gone there because the the woman whom he was betrothed to marry, they later found out that he was her killer and that he had stooped into a bit of a frenzy and was starting to go down some rather dark paths. And the upon confronting Wolf, the three of them took him down, incapacitated him, and proceeded to dismember him to transport him back to their haven and potentially see what it is that they could find out from Buer about what was going on with Wolf. So, we are joined only by Urien today, as the darling M has other things going on right now. And so, with Urien being the one we're joined by today, what are your thoughts, Urien, as you wake on this new day, this new night, and determine what it is that you're going to do?
I had such high praise for Wolf. I thought Wolf was coming into his own. And now I find myself reminding my mind that ultimately he was responsible for himself. Still, it angers me. Buer's child, released so soon, then place him in the hands of another. I take care of him because her sire is not here to do the work. But Buer's actions are just neglectful. I have no delusions that you raise a child or two with kindness. We are predators after all, and a stern hand must be maintained. But Buer allowed man to lose everything and gave him nothing in return. This angered me so. And now I must take it out on his child for stepping out the line. I am first dealing with Alfonso, who at least has proven to be useful, at least proven to be understanding of what is going on, and the more he is exposed to it, the more I think he understands. Maybe that's just wishful thinking. I'm giving the night off. It was taxing on her. Alfonso, on the other hand, well, I'm going to need to end up making a moment with him. Perhaps bring him out to cart the carcass of my protege. It grieves me greatly, yet I find myself right now alone, writing letters to people who will never reach them, studying incantation and the ward that guards our haven. Perhaps it will be a study that will grant us a great benefit in the future. Who knows? I do know this. To be in this position, there is something to be said about the young being able to scurry about from night to night. It helps keep away the ennui of the evening.
And so, it is a new night. A brand new day. So I would like you to make a rouse check, please. That little voice wakes with you, and he's hungry.
Hunger is gnawing at me evermore. And I know now a mistake will be made this night. I know it. The beast has more control. And so, I must make preparations.
That you must. And so you awake, and that voice is loud this evening. It is loud in your stomach, and in your head, and in your chest. It's almost as if you can't ignore it.
To ignore it further would simply place me in the same position as Wolf. Hunger is all I think. Do I risk what's left of my soul for it? That is the question.
That is an age-old question.
Alfonso first.
And so when you come out of your room and you go down to the basement to check and see how your newest charge is faring, he is chained as usual to the post, sitting in a chair, only just woken up, kind of rubbing his eyes, a little bleary.
Good evening, Alfonso.
Good evening. How are you doing today?
Famished.
Ooh, that doesn't sound good.
No, it does not. And yet, I try to remain calm.
Oh, that's like the hard part, right?
Yes. Especially with one such as you. As he reaches for the lock, begins to unlock it. Trying to not think, God, if Alfonso is an easy meal right now. This is difficult for him. But
He's super tasty looking.
more importantly, he's helpless. But
That's the best part, right?
I am going to... He is not the priority, he is not the indulgence of the evening. I have so much better. He unlocks the chains around Alfonso's neck. And will not be joining us this evening, Alfonso. You will be in my charge.
Oh, okay. Cool. Oh, what are we doing tonight? Are we talking to somebody? I don't quite remember.
But first we hunt. Make sure we are both fed.
He kind of looks you over and just kind of sees a little bit of that struggle, perhaps, in your face. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea. Are you okay?
No, Alfonso, I am not. I am the tiniest bit almost insignificantly, absolutely livid.
Okay. Let's see if we can maybe tack something off the list. In the feeding thing. That's tacking one off the list, right?
It tacks one off the list for the both of us.
Good
You're
plan.
about to end up understanding why it is that As the nights go on, Alfonso, I will become more reliant on you as you prove yourself this night. And you need not go to bed chains.
Right.
I assume you would like that.
It would be nice to be comfortable.
Very well then. I make my way up the stairs, reaching into my coat pocket, producing keys for the van.
Alfonso follows, but he's a couple of steps behind. He's not exactly following you as closely as he would M, but he is following.
That would be expected. Alfonso has no idea of the bond between him and M. Mine is out of obligation for social currency. His is the forbidden bond. I should not be surprised. I check over the van first, and making sure that everything is kosher. Trackers, bombs, cut brake lines. I've heard so many who have been careless.
As is with nightly routine, you inspect the vehicle, make sure that all of the lines are secure. You make sure that all of the fluids are full. You make sure that all of the undercarriage and the floors and the under the seats and everything else is as clean as you left it last night. Being meticulous is kind of become your thing.
Everything in detail. Before we leave, I give a quick shout to them that I will be taking Alfonso for breakfast. When I end up doing so, then, and only then, I will come back for the remains of Wolf, and I will settle this matter with Buer. Then I think I deserve evening off. Perhaps a game of chess with a beloved colleague.
Sounds like a good plan to me. And so M wishes you and Alfonso a good night and goes to her room to muse, to study. Not entirely sure what it is that M does in her room on her own, but you leave her to it.
I assume it's playing with her cards. I will end up getting into the van. I end up telling Alfonso, your job is to close the van doors when someone walks in, to incapacitate and indulge yourself. If this all goes according to plan, well, we'll have to end up wondering what's going on afterwards. You any good at the driving, Alfonso?
Pretty decent, yeah. You know, follow all the road rules and can kind of get out of a bad spot if I need to.
Fantastic. I am going to end up walking around. There's some good places for feeding. When someone ends up in the back of the van, take heart. But try not to overfeed. In the moment after feeding, the loose-headedness, no idea what is happening, take advantage of that confusion. Take out, throw them out, and I will come to see you when it's prepared. Please do leave the gestures towards the recently washed out travel mug. Please do be kind and share the bounty.
Right.
This will... Are you still hungered? As famished as you were?
I'm a little more than peckish. Like, not feast, but not famine. Kind of, if that makes sense.
It does. If it is possible, but I would not, if it proves to even be a minor hindrance, do not try and bleed as you feed. I will admit the very sight of it may bring out the worst in me. I'd rather you not be on the receiving end of it.
Okay. So, just so I'm a little bit clear, I'm picking somebody up in the van?
No, they will be coming to you.
Oh, okay. Cool.
It's once they enter the back of the van, close the doors in the dark with the radio loud.
Okay.
Do what you need to do.
Okay. Got
It's
it.
at this point. Urien places the keys in Alfonso's hands and directs him for the combination, either looking for where I believe we may run into poachers, or a place where we could gather. Preferably lone walkers or what have you, but doubles aren't that big of a problem for me.
Okay. Then what do I? Okay. So just that I'm a little bit clear. You're looking for people who are alone, or you're maybe looking for someone who's kindred. Is that what I'm
Yep.
hearing? Okay. Then okay.
I'm willing to play it out the long way rather than rely on a single roll.
Right. So
Problem with Urien's feeding type, he's got to do it in detail.
yes, he does. So the first thing that I would like you to do is an intelligence streetwise to see. You know your domain pretty well, but you're looking for spots specifically where single people or pairs tend to walk past without much detection for a van. So
Well, then I have to end up asking, does lane add to that still? Oh, Chase doesn't. Chase doesn't, but does lane help me in determining that, since it is my knowledge?
in finding spots where people hang out, yes, it does.
Okay.
And add a +1 for Alfonso.
Okay.
Okay, with 5 successes, you know exactly where people in solo walking, in pairs, there's a little hole in the wall set of restaurants. People go in and out of there all the time, but they're always walking past. There's a few individuals who walk past a specific alley to get back to their vehicles. And it's in this alley that there is very limited space for a vehicle.
Thankfully, that's not what I need. I have Alfonso park the van in sight of the back alley. I'd be sure to make sure he is in the back. And I pull out from under a seat a piece of cardboard with a piece of duct tape upon it, and slap it on the plate as I head out. And I wait near the alley, waiting for one to come out alone.
Okay. There are a few people who would walk by. What are you intending to do to lure them toward the van?
Are they in a group or are they separate?
You see one person kind of on the far end of the alley, but there are a pair that are walking towards, kind of going in that direction.
Once I am convinced that that one is alone, I will go to them.
Yeah, they're definitely alone. They've been walking alone for about a minute or so.
Yeah. Do I recognize them? Are they of any consequence?
Nothing, no one you particularly know.
Very well then, no one's going to miss them as far as my social circles are concerned. It is my feeding ground after all. I go up and as soon as I catch their gaze, I end up, gesturing a little bit towards the van. Going to the back of the van. And that is command.
That's a compel, alright. This person stops and they look like they're about to retort. But when you meet their gaze and you issue the command, there is nothing that stops them from obeying exactly as you had said. And so they walk toward you, with you, toward the van.
At this point, I suspect the music is playing loudly as it should be.
Yep, it's very loud, it's thumping, it's a particularly interesting rock station. late night shows and all of that.
Yeah.
So this
No
person,
appreciation for the classics.
maybe it's Alfonso's tastes. You're not maybe not so sure about that. But this person walks with you towards the van in that daze, like they are walking on autopilot.
Like they have any idea what is going on. I'm sure to end up making sure that my face is not the first thing they see. And I'm pretty sure once they end up in the back of a dark van, there's going to be very little for them to end up seeing in the first place. It's not like anybody can catch the license plate.
Mm.
All the little details.
All the little details.
As soon as they're in the van, I close the door. I'm going to trust Alfonso and understands the predicament. But if he overindulges, well,
You are there to help him if he does try to overindulge.
not really. I'm on the other side of the door. I am keeping lookout. It's at that point I'm going to trust Alfonso to try and hold his own. If he does not, well... That's his own responsibility. He should know better.
So you said you're waiting by the van.
Just observing, making sure that no one else comes to
inspect.
investigate.
Exactly. So you wait a moment, and the person that you had guided to the van comes out of the van.
And I just give them a push away. Not that they'll come to anytime soon. They're still probably in that wonderful illusory fog.
They definitely look like their heads in the fog. They kind of trip over their feet as you push them aside, and it looks as if they're maybe going to be lightheaded, maybe have an issue with going to work tomorrow. But what does that matter to you?
Not much. Still, I go to the... I walk past the door. Drive off and meet me at the spot we earlier designated.
Got it.
Fill my beverage, leave the van, do not be in sight of me when you do.
He gives you a thumbs up and walks and drives the van to the designated area.
Urien is trying his best not to lash out at Alfonso. He is becoming a good soldier. The rewards should be many. Unfortunately, Urien has not built his situation to become such. So,
In due
with
time,
that
right?
in mind, that is the one resource I will never run out of. Though I am partially pitying the individual who fed on Alfonso, there is a small amount of pride. Alfonso managed to not kill someone this time, which, given the first time I seen him, that's quite an improvement. I approach the van when I see Alfonso clearly leaving it.
Yep, he's walked away a good distance. He kind of flashes that he has his phone in his hand. Probably remembers that you don't carry a phone. And just kind of gestures that you should wave him down when you're done.
I approach the van. I can already smell it from here. As I get into the van and take hold of the cup, fangs extend, and I start to drink it as fast as I can. I can already taste the blood starting to become rancid. It's still warm, but it's not the same. It's not the same. How much would I love to end up sinking my fangs into Alfonso and draining him dry like the husky deserves? Right now.
He's just down the street. We can go sink our teeth into him right now.
Be satiated with this. More will come. He places the cup holder back down as it's emptied.
You are able to get 1 point off of your hunger at this point.
That's the start.
But it's nowhere near like the full belly that you would experience if you drained him dry.
No, it wouldn't be. No, I won't do. It's at this point he drives to pick up Alfonso.
And he gets into the vehicle. You alright? You good?
I am far from good, Alfonso, but I am marginally impressed with you.
Why didn't you just take that person?
Because if I had, we would not be having this conversation.
Ha. It's that bad, huh? Okay.
So understand right now, this is a lesser of two evils.
Fair enough.
And the more you provide, he taps the travel mug, the more you come to benefit. How are you feeling now?
I'm alright. I could eat, but
We can do that all night. I'd almost be tempted to do so if it were not leaving particular individuals waiting.
right.
Perhaps I will get my fill out of another. Tell me, what do you make of the kindred Bjorn?
I think I've met him like once or twice.
He continues to drive back to go pick up Wolf's carcass.
Definitely the once when we all went, right?
That would be correct.
I don't know. He's weird.
Many are, but I'm asking you what the make of the individual is.
I don't know. He's weird. Like, I've not met many kindred, but he is weird. Not like you kind of weird, but weird.
He raises an eyebrow at that comment.
Like, you're kind of, no offense, kind of hoity-toity. But he dresses like he's hoity-toity, but I've heard Randy tell me that he's like a piece of shit.
Hoity.
God, how fucking old are you? Hoity-toity is like sophisticated in a, I don't know.
You're trying to word this without insulting me, aren't you?
A little bit.
Which implies that you think negatively of the hoity-toity attitude.
Maybe a little bit, but
Why?
I don't know. I just don't. I don't like people really who think that they're better than me.
If you believe that is what it means, then your education requires significantly more focus.
I mean, like, you're interesting. I'll give you that.
Mine is a focus upon those around me. Mine is a focus that says I hold myself to be the best I can be. Sometimes you don't have much to work with. Other times you have the world.
Hmm.
Both share the exact same responsibility. So, upon reflecting on that, Mr. Hendrick,
Mm.
be kind, be courteous, but do not think I think lesser of you because of your capabilities. I think lesser of you because of your blood. And that is not something you can help. But it is something I can help.
As in, you're trying not to think like that?
Something like that. It is.
I can work with that.
That being said, if I work with that, the expectation is you hold yourself to a higher standard than you have. The occasional murder is distasteful, but it is something that is required from time to time.
I,
Leaving a whole funeral home's worth of dead, on the other hand, is not a requirement. Civility, being a gentleman, hanging on to the little things. The beast doesn't understand these things. It confuses it. Even driving is a way to calm and refocus yourself, to keep yourself.
hmm.
So if I appear hoity-toity to you, understand that is my front line between myself and the monster in the soul.
It's like it's like it's a wolf that's just ravenous in the back of your head, right? And then in order to combat that, you just put on like a proper face.
Partly.
That's an
You'll
interesting
meet
way to look at
others.
it.
You'll meet others, and each one has it. Even Nosferatu, Buer, as an example of that. While maybe a monster on the outside, tries to dress as a man, a counterpoint to what he really is, but in doing so maintains himself.
Mm.
So at this point, Urien continues to drive to go pick up Wolf's carcass to go meet Buer.
Yep. And so you stop by the Haven and you pick up the dismembered body of Wolf, still incapacitated, still very much in that dead state. And you put him in the back of the van to be delivered to Buer.
Throwing the tarp over him, of course.
Exactly. And with the tarp over him and Alfonso taking the passenger seat, you drive with both of them in tow to make it to the meeting place Buer had that you had met Buer before, and so you give it a few minutes. He doesn't seem to be present, even with your ever-seeing eyes. He doesn't seem to be present as of right now. So you wait a moment, 10 minutes, and finally you do see a shape coming out of an alleyway and into the gate where you had met him before.
Alfonso,
Mm.
if anything were to go wrong, deliver the carcass back to him. It is her cheat to play. It is the thing that'll save her life if this goes horrible.
Plan for the worst, hope for the best, right?
Now you are learning. Much why it is that I make you do these awkward runs and bleed yourself into a cup. I'd rather it be awkward than lead with your demise.
Right. Don't want that.
Besides, we'll see on how Mr. Duval is settling. Urien's still using his vision, observing, looking for ghosts, specters, wraiths, looking for Nosferatu. But there is one with his mind as he walks towards the gate. He simply speaks aloud as though speaking to himself. Mr. Duval.
Mr. Doyle. And you do see that he does make himself appear to you.
I see you've done quite a bit of hunting. It was amusing to end up finding your remains inside of Wolf's old apartment.
Yeah. When you got a big old mop like mine, it's hard not to leave little things behind.
You should consider with a bit more care what you leave behind. Still, you asked us to find Wolf.
And how's that going?
I know his exact location and can have him here in a moment.
Oh, really? Where's he been?
Well, see, that would be the problem. He has been responsible for quite a few missing people in a very short period of time.
Is that a fact?
That is. Given the fact that many bodies had to be disposed of, along with a lot of dirty paperwork. I have to know, if the child was so unstable, why did you place him in my charge before checking to see if they were ready for a higher education, when simply holding their own? You went from a gentle creature feeding on disgusting animals to a ravenous drug eater in such a rapidly short time. He is of your blood. I figured you might have some answers for me.
Yeah, I almost figured that kind of thing would happen.
How so?
It's the reason I embraced him.
You embraced him to be a mass murdering
No,
masquerade breach waiting to happen.
Maybe a little bit more focused with my intent, but occasionally you need these things done. He had potential. So, that's what I did. And really ain't none of your business.
It became my business the moment that child was put into my custody.
Hmm. He's
And
the
it
one who
was
chose
something that
you. I wasn't the one who decided. See,
you
that's the whole
you
thing.
did
I didn't
you did
decide for
decide.
him.
You did decide when you chose to embrace him, to give him your blood.
Hmm.
That was your decision, Mr. Duval.
Yeah, I chose to embrace him, and my reasons are mine.
Are you? You don't seem to appreciate the gift in your veins in that regard. That worries me greatly, and I imagine it worries Baron Delgado.
I don't give a shit about Delgado.
But he does care about you.
If you think that, he don't have any care for any Nosferatu, Mr. Doyle.
No, he does not. But he does care when they're shitting on his lawn. And he would very much like to end up knowing who was shitting on his lawn. Like I said, a lot of bodies, Mr. Buer. Duval.
Where did you find these bodies? Were they
The
in
better,
Delgado's territory?
the better question you've ever asked is, will anybody else find these bodies?
I know that Delgado's got a crew.
You know Delgado's got the crew. Yes.
He takes
So
care
now
of
the
that
question.
shit.
So, if I understand this correctly, that means you want to embrace willy-nilly, as it were.
Nah,
Okay.
no.
You look for killers. You look for ravenous individuals in the hopes that they would become beasts. And then give them just enough freedom to end up making the mistake. Were you hoping that when Wolf found you that they would be grateful? Did you hope that there was something to be gained? I'm curious.
Hmm.
Because it seems like a very sloppy play in your estimation, and I have far more respect for the Nosferatu.
It might have been more sloppy than I probably had planned. Because you see, Mr. Doyle, he stole something from me.
Which would be,
That pretty little thing that he called a fiance, I think's the word.
oh, you mean the one he devoured?
Well, he didn't devour her. He fucking ripped her to pieces. This was before I embraced him.
So, petty revenge is why you give your sacred gift then.
In this case. Not in other cases. You don't fucking know me.
Mr. Duval, I don't need to. And you do not care on what you've done. And in all full honesty, it is none of my business at this point. After all, anarchs embrace as they so do. If it were to come to my thoughts that I end up finding those I found entertaining, I could embrace 5 or 6 childer this night. If they all shared our last name, what a coincidence that would be. Or perhaps, maybe, I can end up teaching some of the individuals here who might be upset of a little history lesson. How we did things in Jackson.
How did you do things in Jackson, Mr. Doyle?
If this were Jackson, Mr. Duval, it's quite likely you would have been drawn and quartered with Ford trucks and have your remains driven down the highway fast enough that you would just be a dangling piece of meat. So no masquerade breach would be made, it would just be a horrible felony. And felonies tend to go away in Jackson very quickly. I'm trying not to end up having it escalate to that, so I'm trying to get answers. Now, I can explain all this to Delgado, but I'm pretty sure that is not what you want. So what do you want right now? Your child safe in your arms?
I mean, that would be nice.
And what would you give to have that delivered?
I'm not entirely sure what it is that you want, Mr. Doyle.
Keep that in mind. What do I want?
What does Mr. Doyle from Jackson, Mississippi want?
Mr. Yeah, Mr. Duval, you are well traveled, yes?
I get around.
Go between domains?
On occasion. I got no particular like for any one of them, but...
But you must remain useful.
Oh, yeah.
And what is your use to them? I'm more particular in your interest in Baron Jameson. And, well, let's not forget the beauty that is Baron Bautista. What is your use to them?
Well, I tend to be pretty good at shaking people down. Getting what I want. Getting what they want out of people.
Okay, well...
I've been known to lift weights a couple of times during the week, too.
So, tell me.
I can be mighty persuasive if you want me to be.
I like that. I like it a lot. So if that's the case, then you probably are aware of me and my history in Jackson.
I am very much aware of that history, Mr. Doyle. You're a name that's rung from the highest of the top right now, as one of the liberators. What was it, 4 or 5 years back?
Something like that. So, with that in mind, what would Mr. Duval of San Antonio, amongst the streets of the Alamo City, believe they would ever wish to end up offering someone like me? In gratitude, of course, for the return of one's lost child, or
maybe a juicy little tidbit about certain people coming to the city rather soon, from my understanding.
implying that this would be someone of consequence.
Someone from Jackson.
Though,
And maybe
I'm
a couple
sure
from New
Delgado.
York, too. I can't really remember. But,
Have you fed, Buer?
have I?
Yes.
I have today. I'm good.
Oh, good. You see, I was curious because right now I was just on my way to Delgado, and I'm pretty sure that he's going to want correction. He's going to need someone to answer for what has become of his little slice of heaven. I'm sure he would give a lot more for those answers, wouldn't he?
What are you implying?
I'm implying that once it has come, your usefulness of being able to shake down 3 barony suddenly gets reduced to 2. I'm implying that once Delgado finds out, your child will end up meeting the sun. And I am implying that with anything to happen in response to that, well, it becomes so much worse and so much more messy. And then I get to bring back old habits, which I'm kind of looking forward to. You want to shake people down, that's fantastic. What I will ask of you is a major boon. After all, it is your cherished blood. And if that decision is not made in the next 5 seconds, I will leave here. 4, 3,
Fine.
2.
You want a boon out of this? Then that's fine with me.
A major boon.
Just tell me what you want.
Well, to start with the interest, you can start by telling me these individuals coming in, and that'll pay off the first bit of interest. When I need someone to put their neck out for me, and I need someone shaken down in a particularly dangerous situation, I'll call you. Much like the danger your child put me and mine in.
That's fair enough. I can hold my own.
After all, major boon means something that, not just a small favor or a bit of information, that's something to try. So,
I'm completely aware how major boons work, Mr. Doyle.
I do apologize, Mr. Duval. I deal with fledglings so long, sometimes I forget who I'm educating. That being said...
Said you want names.
So who is coming in from Jackson or New York? Well, if it's 2, then perhaps both would suffice. You're my little informant right now.
Well, from Jackson. Now, keep in mind, after the fall of Prince Calhoun and Jackson, everybody just kind of scattered and let the Einarchs take what they want. A certain individual's been hiding out in Dallas. From what I understand, he's a great-grandchild of that prince. And he's looking for blood. Your blood. That's
my
the
blood.
whispers, anyway.
Well, perhaps I will do to him what was done to his great-great-grandfather.
I look forward to it. I can't stand them Camarilla dogs.
Hmm. Well, in this we may have something in common. No, you said something about New York.
Now, I can't exactly confirm that 100%, but rumor has it that there's certain individuals looking for a sister. Fits your little
And
M's description.
sister, you say?
I can't confirm that. I don't
It would
exactly have the
seem
strongest sources from New York, but that's what I could
done.
gather.
One last little tidbit.
Mm,
I believe you and M shared the conversation.
that we did.
What was that about?
Yeah, that's private. You'd have to ask her about that one.
But you owe me.
I know I do. But like I said, she's the one who holds the reins on that conversation. If you want, I can break that for you.
Not that curious.
Hmm.
But, after all, our coterie, honoring all points, will end up. He raises a hand and gestures for Alfonso to back the van up closer to block line of sight from everything and be able to offer the body.
And having set this up with Alfonso, he backs the van up to a point where the opening of the back of the trunk is not going to be visible from the street.
I open it up and I yank the tarp off, grabbing hold of Wolf by the upper jaw, careful not to put my hair. Well, no, just enough to prick myself to let a little droplet of blood drip down his throat as I hurl his carcass in front of Buer. And it's at that point that should be just enough blood to get him frenzying. The next time you decide to end up embracing, I would suggest find someone with a bit more control and understand that I am not going to discuss this with Delgado. But if I find out that Wolf has gone off the leash before prepared, before you have taken the Otis to be a proper sire, and try and rectify all mistakes that you have made, I'm going to have to return here. He gestures towards the armless, legless, jawless husk that is currently writhing on the floor, scrambling for blood. That will be the least of anyone's concerns the next time I end up having to deal with anything involving Delgado's domain or those within. Am I understood, Mr. Duval?
Of course.
Now you have a story to tell all the other baronies on how we used to do it in Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
I hope
First-hand
you're
experience. Couldn't ask for more.
I can be polite and I can be civil. The moment that lack of civility starts to affect those around me, in any way, shape, or form, well, I certainly hope that this ends up making it very clear that as anarchs, we don't have any rules outside of two. You pay your bones, and you have preserved the masquerade. Going outside of that or flirting with that puts us all at risk. You're free to do that in Baron Jameson's if you would allow it, given on how much firepower he has. I'd imagine little slip-ups are tolerated a lot less. And given Baron Batista's bloodline, I can only imagine she has a certain sense of social responsibility as well. Consider it much the same now in Delgado's turf. Spread the word.
I'll keep that in mind.
I hope so. He takes a step back as he slowly backs his way. He never breaks eye contact with Buer as he gets into the van, grabbing bolt doors and slamming them shut. Drive, Alfonso. This conversation is over.
And Alfonso quickly shifts the van into drive and makes his way with you back towards the street and away from this place.
I get myself back in the passenger seat now. Feels good to have a driver again. Well. Whew. So, Mr. Enberg, what are your thoughts?
I didn't really hear that conversation all that well, so I don't really have any new ones.
Are you lying to me, Mr. Hendrick?
No.
Now I'm mildly disappointed.
What,
Always
should I
keep
have been
your
listening
ears.
then?
Yes, even if you can deny it.
I can't say that I'm very good at that, but, I'll do my best next time.
Alright. It's a lesson. Everything I do with you is a lesson. Alfonso, you may be of thin blood, but you're still of sound mind. Still. He gives a little bit of general directions. He's gonna have himself dropped off. Come back here in an hour.
Okay. Are you gonna be okay by yourself? You were saying that you were really famished before, so...
No, I will not. But right now, I need some time.
Personal time, I get it.
And Alfonso. Do keep in mind that I am expecting you here in an hour. This is a bit of freedom, and you currently have the keys to the van. Do not think I'm stupid in not imagining the possibilities. But at this point, M is still on my side. And if I have to call her, I have no doubt that what she's going to do is walk over to a convenience store, kill a man for his keys, and drive here to pick me up. I have no doubt that. So, can we please avoid any more bodies for the foreseeable future?
Yeah. I mean, you didn't have to put it that way. I'm not going anywhere. I don't have anywhere to go, really.
You will. Very soon.
I mean, I don't even have any place to go and hang out. I mean, probably just gonna wait here. To be fair.
Very well. I'm gonna roll an insight roll on that.
Okay.
Any bonuses?
Unless you have like insight versus kindred or something. He's not exactly the greatest at being very persuasive, but he's not lying to you.
Fantastic. I exit out the vehicle. Give him the same thumbs up that he gave me, which I imagine must seem very awkward.
It's a little awkward, but he returns it.
And I start walking down an alley. I use sight, sense the unseen, observing, trying to make sure that I'm not being followed. Because I know the dear Doc's place is not far off.
And so you walk through the alleys. You see people passing you by. You don't see anything of consequence. You maybe see something like maybe a stray Nosferatu, but they don't seem to be following you. They seem to be minding their own business.
Once I am convinced that there is no eyes upon me, I make it very clear that I stop by the Doc's office.
Okay. And so you make your way through the alleyways, kind of going a few blocks away from where you were dropped off from Alfonso, and come up to the building where Doc's office is. You do see a light on in the back. You do suspect that perhaps, as per usual, she's working late nights, private practice and all.
And here is where I need to do something I'm going to regret. I knock on the door, and I listen for footsteps, signs that it's going to be open.
You watching inside. You don't hear footsteps right away. Maybe the tiniest bit of shuffling and slow movement towards the door.
As soon as I hear the door open, I am bringing warmth and life to my veins.
Roll me arouse.
This is dangerous.
Yes. Again, when the volume at which the beast in the back of your mind had been quelled just a moment, it's ever present in your ears at this point, reminding you you can eat her, because she's right there. She's nothing special. Go for it. What's it gonna hurt? Come on, we need this. We're on fumes right now.
He stops as he waits for the door open.
And you do see the door open, and you see that she's coming out of the building a little hesitantly. She wasn't expecting anything this late, so she has something in her hands in the event that someone she isn't expecting decides to try and get past her and raid her facility. Hello?
Good evening, Doc.
Oh, Urien. This is a surprise.
Well, I was in the neighborhood, and I've had a very long day.
Well, come on in. Can I get you anything?
Company, pleasant conversation.
Okay, yeah.
Are you in the middle of working on anything? Are you alone?
I'm alone.
More's the pity. Beautiful thing like yourself should never be alone.
Working late, as I do, because, city never sleeps.
And crime never... Yeah, if they say crime never pays, then you know better.
I know better. But yeah,
Might
come. Yes, please, come in. I have cold coffee.
That will do. If only to hang on to.
Okay, do you want it warmed up? I can throw it in the microwave or something.
No. Honestly, if I ate anything, I'm pretty sure I would just throw it up. Nerves have been getting to me lately, Doc.
Oh, well, that's so sad. I'm so sorry. I could maybe get you something for that. Do you be a one-off? Nothing serious.
Well, I appreciate that, Doctor. I would never... Might tickle you, Shelley.
By all means, we're friends.
Like to end up keeping professional and personal separate. When I call you Doc, it is usually in a professional term.
Right. This is a bit more of a personal visit, then.
If you have time for it.
I always have time for you.
I know. I thought you should know. In the next couple of nights, I am led to believe that there will be an increase of violence.
What leads you to say that?
You remember the riots in Jackson?
I heard about that. I don't know any details, but...
Nah, few do. But... when I was there, there was a certain thing in the air. A je ne sais quoi.
Okay.
And I feel it in the air tonight.
Is that what got your stomach in knots?
Yes. I was thinking of friends. Family, really. In the riots, they were butchered like pigs.
Oh my.
And I had to watch.
I didn't know that you had been that directly involved.
If you do.
Oh my god.
But I've been thinking a lot about them and family lately. There are very few people I can trust these nights. And you're one of them.
I'm flattered.
Alas, I did not bring you a gift. I was not expecting to be in the neighborhood.
That's quite alright. We perform enough business with each other that the occasional slip up is not gonna be anything. It's not. This is a personal visit. This isn't business.
I will try not to make it business then. He pulls out a piece of chalk. And he starts to look for something that is easy to wipe off a countertop, something that's easy to get chalk off to not offend.
Yeah, she's led you back to after getting you that cold cup of coffee that had been sitting there probably for hours. She led you back to her office where there is a clean space on the desk next to the computer.
Is there a mat there which has all those post-it notes under a piece of plastic?
Yes.
Okay. He takes that off. For your kindness, Doc. He takes a piece of chalk and he starts the circle. He's practiced it so many times that it's almost a perfect circle as he begins to draw the pentagram, to bonnet the runes in the corners indicating the direction, the focus. As he describes it, he starts to do so. Urien knows that this is not true magic. It is superstition. It is what many Wiccans would end up taking umbrage with in some cases, though such is Urien's background, especially with Satanism being at the forefront these nights. A gift of luck and protection, as he describes this to her.
Luck and protection, huh?
To a woman of science in the mythical field, it is. Consider it a morbid curiosity, a gift in that regard.
Well, I've never been the superstitious type, but I do appreciate the gesture.
As I thought you would. He places it over. He walks over to her. And gives her a hug. For the briefest of moments, he thinks back to who he really wants to be holding right now.
She definitely wraps her arms around you and kind of caresses your back a little bit in that friendly way that a friend would comfort someone who's troubled.
That's when he feeds.
All right. How much are you taking?
2.
All right, go ahead and slake 2. But since this is also goes against your feeding restriction, you do take 1 stay into your humanity.
Is that, I'm assuming that's before any touchstones or convictions?
That's before that, yes.
Okay, so it won't stand. I'm not stopping the indulgence.
Why stop it too? The indulgence can go further if you wanted it to.
Foreplay. Because in the long run, this is my child who does not know it yet. I lick the wound. I'm sure to make it as clean as possible, and I help
Also,
her. Oh,
it does occur to me, what was your hunger before you fed?
it was at 5.
Roll me a hunger frenzy, please.
Frenzy. This is why we did it when we didn't spend any willpower. Humanity is 6. Any modifiers?
I don't think you would get any at this point.
Okay.
It's just your willpower plus humanity.
I will not take more.
You can definitely feel that clawing. It's digging deep into you. It's trying to pull everything out of Shelly. But you snap it back. You tell it to heal. And for the briefest of moments, you feel as if that maybe it's scared of you.
Oh, Satan.
And you definitely see that when you release her, she is in the throes of the ecstasy that is the vampire's kiss.
He helps her into a seat and walks over with the coffee. He puts in the microwave. Be sure to add plenty of sugar into it.
Just like she likes it.
Has it ever occurred to anyone that the reason that she likes it that way is because this has not been the first time? Who knows? He does, however, make sure there's a bit extra. He makes sure it's warm, stirs it, places it in front of her.
And it's about then that she comes out of that daze and kind of just breathes heavily.
You've been working too hard, Shelley. He gestures with the cup on a small plate.
Yeah, it's late nights. Oh,
Is there any way I can assist?
I should be fine.
You work too hard.
And you're always too concerned.
Whenever I'm not, bad things happen. Now, drink your coffee.
Fine.
Willful woman.
You wouldn't have it any other way, would you?
No. It's what I admire about you. Do you work tomorrow?
Yes. Because I've got some things I need to finish up.
Anything I can do to take that workload a little lighter for you.
As I said, Urien, it should be fine. It really will be. I've got everything handled.
Try to take it easy for the next couple of nights. You look faint and pale.
Yeah.
I'm afraid you're getting sickly.
Oh, yeah, my stomach is starting to turn in knots a little bit. I think I may go home. Leave the rest of this for tomorrow.
Very well. You be kind to yourself.
And you be kind to yourself. I don't need you coming into my office with anxiety because you're having issues getting to sleep.
Some night, Doc, I'm going to knock on that door. And I will tell you everything in all of its horrific detail. You're going to wish I had not. But it's because you are a dear friend that I allowed it.
I'm not sure what horrific details you would be surprising me with. But I'll leave that for another day.
Good evening, Doc. As he
Good night.
walks to the door. When he closes the door, he's immediately looking to see who else might have seen him leave, or who else might be seeing him leave.
Roll me a wits plus awareness, please. Far as you can tell, nobody else is here.
He starts to look, taking a little bit more time before getting to Alfonso's van.
And when you pull up to when you walk up to the intersection at which you both had parted ways, he is still there.
Entering the van, closes it. He rolls his head back.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Feeling any better?
A little. I don't believe in confession, but I do believe that words can soothe the soul. For what there is of it.
Doesn't hurt. Right?
No, it does not. I am going to... How are you otherwise, Alfonso? Still peckish? Still wondering? Still a mind of questions?
I mean, there's always questions. That's never gonna stop. That's every day. But,
And what would they be?
I don't know yet. I'm still trying to figure out what questions I should ask. I mean, you're pretty open about like all of the lessons stuff and I don't know. I haven't really had any pertinent questions. You kind of just answered them as they popped into my head. Strangely enough, you a mind reader?
No. I just remember what it's like to be young. I'm not that old,
No.
Alfonso. No.
How old are you?
I guess I should be grateful I wasn't... I'm old enough.
That's what every old person says.
To remember what it was like when the Germans were bombing my home.
Wait, I thought the accent was weird. I thought it was a front. Where are you from?
Depends where you ask. You are from San Antonio.
Yep.
Tonight.
Born and raised.
In 100 years, You might say you are from New York, or New Serum, maybe Mexico City, or London. Your home is only where you hang your hat. And so, I am Urien Doyle of San Antonio. He rests his head on the back of the seat, closing his eyes.
I've always thought of home as the place that feels like home. Like, you can live just about anywhere. And you can live there for as long as you want. But if it doesn't feel like home, it's not home. Home is where, everything you care about is.
I think that's the problem. When you get right down to it, you can't be a part of anything. You just watch from the outside.
Eternally a drifter.
He taps the window at his side. We cannot be any more part of the streets right now. We can only travel them, observe them, find our prey. And yet, we have to remember to long for it anyway.
I mean, everybody's got friends, right? I mean, everybody I know is, well, mortal, maybe?
He shoots Alfonso and look. Like, everybody? Are you sure about that? And then he thinks back, it's probably best not to say anything.
I can understand why friends would be problematic, but should still have them. Even if the friend group changes, you should have friends.
I do not.
Maybe you should.
I should.
Maybe it'll
but
give.
I do not.
Maybe it'll give you those people that you could say words to. Because sometimes saying the words feels good.
When did you get so old, Alfonso? When did you get so old?
I mean, that's just me. That's how I live my life.
Are you prepared to receive a very rough gift?
What kind of a gift?
Never mind. I don't think you would appreciate it any.
Try me.
Your friend, his soul is still screaming.
He kind of hangs his head a little bit as he's driving.
Now you understand.
Just feel bad.
And I am sure he wants you to. He was betrayed by those he cared about. Drained, mauled from behind, ambushed,
It was
only to find out that his best friend was his own killer. because of a monster inside that he could not control.
Yeah, that's the. I couldn't control it. It's just a bad day.
So when he takes a look at the cup that he still needs to wash out. When I tell you to bleed into this, understand that that is exactly what I am protecting you from.
You're on the thing.
When I woke up this morning, the first thought I had was I had a thin blood chained in my basement, and I could drain him dry in an instant, and no one would care.
That's chilling. And I
And yet I
have those too on occasion. I mean, when it's really bad.
never forget that's what you're dealing with. I would rather you be afraid of me, Alfonso. It's safer. I would rather you despise me. I'd rather you really think that this is ultimately some mean, horrific individual who is out to get you. I'd rather you see me like that than what you're seeing right now.
Why would you want that?
Because when you look at me like that, like you're not sure if I am willing to hold myself back, when you are thinking to yourself, Urien is planning to kill me, it keeps you sharp, keeps you alert, makes you want to continue existing.
Paranoid.
Paranoid keeps you alive. There are two types of paranoia, especially with dealing with Nosferatu. There is total, and there is insufficient.
Hmm.
You are a child created by Randy, of his blood in more ways than one.
Yep. So I should just treat everybody like I'm fearing for my life every day?
No, you must respect everyone's ability to tear you to pieces. The moment you forget what they are, what they're capable of, is the moment they will kill you. If you didn't witness it yourself, would you believe that I could reduce a kindred with not more than a snap of my fingers?
That was impressive. I
Would you have believed it if somebody were to tell you that?
probably not. Unless I'd seen it for myself, I probably wouldn't have believed that someone could just snap their fingers and a kindred go down. A big guy. Like, he was big.
Size does not matter to me. It never has. A brute you can see coming. a brute you can account for. I am a different thing altogether. I want you to go to the mall. I want you to pick up flowers. And I want you to rest a few of them upon the sight of your friends' demise. Do it so you are seen.
Where am I supposed to get flowers from this late at night? I don't pick up flowers very often. And I don't know if you noticed, but all the spring flowers for the city have all dried up along with the grass.
Yes. But it is something I would suggest you start doing. And when you do so, keep an eye out. Have you met other thin bloods, Alfonso?
Couldn't tell you any names off the top of my head. I don't think I have. But then again, I haven't really been looking, so...
Start. I will have you watching out. Stay within our domain. If anyone gives you guff, do not engage. Simply run. Find us, and we will handle it. But I need other thin bloods to know exactly whose turf this is. In time, each of them will deliver unto me what you have. And in turn, I will end up protecting you all.
Okay. I mean, I'll do what I can. I don't know anyone personally, so...
Not yet. But if you put your mind to it, think of where you would hunt. You have reign to do so, freely. And you do not bear the marks. The Camarilla used to brand thin bloods with a crescent moon, using blood magic. A wound you could not heal that would constantly show what you are.
What do you mean by blood magic? What's that?
Sorcery. The types that are not spoken of frequently, but are very useful. Think of it like another gift of the blood, much like Randy has displayed on numerous occasions to you, I have no doubt.
I don't think he wields magic. He's just
No,
really
he does
strong.
not. Randy is a different type of kindred, much like Mr. Duval is, and M, and I.
I think Randy described that as like clan or something, right?
That is a name to call it, yes.
Huh. So I don't... Do I have one?
No. That your blood is too thin to carry it. That is why we call you thin blood. You cannot manifest the things that we can. The blood is too weak. You're, to say jovially, too human.
That's interesting. That's really interesting.
You are the most informed thin blood you will probably ever meet.
Why why would the Camarilla brand them, though? Just because thin blood? Is it because
Partially.
people are dumb? Or
No. There is a thought, a line, an idea that I dare not share with you. That is how dangerous it is. What you are, by what you are, is a very dangerous group of ideas made flesh and then given the naivete. The irony being that were someone to truly tell you what you are capable of, would have it prophesized their forth. Much like a grenade, to demonstrate a grenade that needs to go off by that very definition, it is dangerous to handle. That's what you are to me, Alfonso. A young man who is nothing more than a skin of a grenade waiting to go off. One that I intend to disarm and rebuild. And if what I have heard comes true, well, let us just say I'm quickly looking forward to seeing you become something more.
I mean, more is always good, right?
Yes. Stop by a convenience store. I need to use a phone.
Got it. And so he pulls over to the nearest convenience store, and there is a payphone outside. It looks old, like it hadn't been used in maybe months.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause who uses a payphone anymore?
More people than I think individuals would give credit. Sliding what's left of my pocket change into it. I become the receiver, dialing a specific number. Specifically, I am dialing in Baron Delgado.
And so, let's see. It takes a moment, kind of a bit of run around.
Of course.
The usual fare, as you would expect. And Delgado answers the line. Hello?
Good evening, Mr. Delgado. Very careful not to use Baron over the phone.
Right. Ah, yes, as this Mr. Doyle.
I'm glad you remembered.
Yes, I do remember you, sir.
I wanted to check in. Have you heard any news lately?
I hear news every day, Mr. Doyle. It depends on what kind of news you're looking for.
Well, I was hearing that things were a little rough on the highways recently.
Ah, yes. Um, well, thankfully it was far enough off the highway that, no issues have arisen, thankfully.
Hmm. Oh, that's good to know because you see, Mr. Duval is under the impression that that happened in our neck of the woods. I think it would be beneficial for him to continue believing that.
Our neck of the woods. I see. Well,
That being said,
mm-hmm.
he owes me a favor, and his young boy has been returned to him. He will no longer be under my care.
That's unfortunate.
It is. But, after all, sometimes a child needs to learn responsibility from their father.
Mm. This is
And
true.
sometimes the father needs to learn responsibility for the kid.
That is also very true. Parenting is
Uncle,
definitely a very difficult endeavor. That is for certain. It's not for everyone.
no, certainly isn't. I wanted to end up calling and seeing if you were in the loop.
I am frequently in the loop, Mr. Doyle.
I believe so. And I believe you're also frequently in the loop by these little phone calls.
Hmm. I appreciate the effort of making sure.
That being said, there was a mention of something that perhaps you can help me out with.
Hmm.
I am led to believe that there will be some incoming through Dallas from Jackson.
I've heard of this.
You've heard of this. And do you know of who?
I don't know a name. I know their affiliation, but I don't know their name.
The name is quite important. Calhoun.
Calhoun.
Yes.
It's a rather important name to Jackson.
And it is now an important name to you. I have no doubt. Who would be allowing him into the city? And where can I go pick him up to make sure he receives a warm welcome when he does arrive?
Hmm. Let's see. I'm not entirely sure. The name Calhoun, I think, would have stronger ties with our common friend, Batista.
And how would I end up getting a hold of Batista?
She doesn't have a direct number, so far as I understand.
Yes, but I'm not about to end up coming onto her lawn without an invitation.
Understandable. Let me see what I can dig up.
I would consider that, well, it would be in everyone's interest. He emphasizes interest implying that this is just an interest on the boon. And I am grateful. As a point, I'm sure you already heard all this from our man with the one eye open.
Hmm.
As to the details on what happened.
I will get them soon, I'm sure.
Anything else that is of concern in my part of the backyard?
Just keep an eye out.
I always do.
You are very meticulous, Mr. Doyle.
It's why I have that chunk of the property.
That it is.
I will not keep you waiting any longer. Mr. Delgado, I understand you're busy, and I wanted to make you rest assured as to what was happening and be informed.
Yes, please do keep me informed in regards to the name Calhoun, if you hear anything more.
I'll give you a bit of insider information.
Oh? Is this something that we should discuss in person?
If you so wish, I would not presume to order you to my acquaintance or another way around. I am a humble servant in the end.
With how important this is, I don't think it can wait.
I will be bringing Mr. Hendrick along.
How is he faring?
Oh, didn't you know? He was the one responsible for putting down a rabid dog. Savior to the community he is.
Definitely give him my regards.
I have made sure that he has received it. And I thought, if it might not be too presumptuous on my part, to have him listen in, if only to know how civilized gentlemen, such as ourselves, conduct themselves. Or, what was the words he used? How to roll with the hoity-toity.
Mr. Doyle, I do appreciate your desire to be a little bit more modern with your language, but it doesn't seem to suit you.
I suppose not. But
I do like a little bit of class.
As do I. But we cannot laugh at ourselves, the modern, maybe we lose something in the long term.
Well,
would you like me to meet you at your estate?
Yes. If you would be so kind as to I will have someone meet you at the gate.
Fantastic.
And bring you directly.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Doyle.
Delgado. He hangs up the phone and starts walking back to the van.
All right. Where to?
And he says the address and is pointing at points, but he doesn't really refer to who they're going to meet.
All right.
He kind of stretches back and tries to tidy himself up. suggest for Alfonso to do the same.
Alfonso, before starting to drive, kind of looks at his clothing, looks over at you. This'll work, right? Just kind of straightens his t-shirt.
Not even close, but it'll have to do. When we're rolling in riches, we will discuss your manner of dress. Manners maketh man, as do the clothes.
Hmm. I've never been one for fancy dress, though.
Perhaps, but do you know an interesting thing? The fewer people are likely to look at you if you're dressed in a suit. Consider it doing your part for the masquerade.
Less people are likely to look at you if you're wearing a suit.
They'll see you, but they will not look at you. They will not remember your face.
They'll remember
Because
your suit,
they
though.
don't. Yes. Much like when you wear a clown outfit, no one sees the face behind the makeup.
Huh.
Nobody wants to look you in the eye, especially if you hold yourself with a certain degree of confidence.
I can see that. It's weird, but I can see that. So this address that you gave me, this is up on the northwest side.
Yes.
Like more towards the north. That's like rich territory.
Say it. Whose territory?
Like rich people territory.
Yes.
And who are we going to see?
A rich man.
That's fair enough, I guess.
You need to be prepared for all these little things. And if I told you everything, well, you wouldn't be given an opportunity to impress.
That's fair enough.
Over here. He gestures.
Ah, okay. And so he pulls the vehicle up toward the gate, and what you see in front of you past the gate is not a terribly huge house, but it's definitely one of the bigger, nicer houses in all of San Antonio. It's kind of situated in the north side of the city. Um, kind of more north, not northwest. It's it's definitely amongst other houses that are of similar status. And so when walking up to the gate, there is someone who opens the gate and allows the vehicle to pass through. And when you reach the end of the driveway, the house in front of you is white. It's glamorous. It's very clean, and um, when the there a person comes out of the front door and and greets you at your vehicle.
Should we end up parking inside or shall we end up leaving it here?
You can leave the vehicle here. The master of the house will take you inside. Please follow me.
Of course. And as he follows along with Alfonso and Tony leads to Alfonso, follow my lead. Do not speak out of turn.
Got it.
Try yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fantastic.
And so the what you assume to be butler of the house walks you and Alfonso through the through the main doors and into the entryway. And as as you walk in, you are greeted by Baron Delgado himself, and he's definitely in very classy attire. He definitely looks like he's made his way to own this house. And so coming down the stairs, he he greets the two of you,
Urien bows deeply,
and
double checks that.
Alfonso
Yeah.
does the same, following Urian's lead. And
Baron Delgado, we are humbled to make your acquaintance on such short notice. Forgive us for not dressing in true appropriate attire, but speed, I believe, it
yes,
takes precedent.
it definitely is of the essence in this matter. The the news of Calhoun's coming to San Antonio troubles me, as I'm sure it does you, knowing your history.
Very, very much so.
Are we
E-
to speak freely?
On your near wish, I would not end up having Alfonso out of the loop, as he has decorated himself, and I said I would reward him accordingly. And I believe his service to your domain warrants the reward of understanding.
Very well then. So, what do you know? Just that the Calhouns are coming?
One in specific.
Hmm.
I have an idea as to which.
We do not build ourselves on speculation, but
I think it's a bit more than speculation. Marius Calhoun, the tyrant, the so-called prince, was a man who ended up not siring very many children. Many of his children were sent to other cities to keep them out of harm's way to his particular. It was his grandchild, Aurelius Calhoun, who he served very much as a hound, and he had a child there. They were all very loyal.
hmm.
Upon his death, leaving only a Kyle Calhoun.
Kyle Calhoun.
Kyle, yes. Kyle is a studious fellow, a individual who is very much not capable of being dissuaded by much of anything. Once he has set his mind to the task, he continues on it. If he has sworn a life's hatred against a blood feud, then he ends up coming here. If he wishes to exact that upon me, I have no doubt that also means he wishes to exact it on every anarch he encounters. For it is the anarch whole that ended up consuming his lineage.
That it is. So the story goes. I do not know of a personal account, as you and I have not had a long discussion about such matters. However, I have heard the stories, and
Would you entertain me in letting me know what stories you have?
more hearsay,
Set the
really.
matter straight. I
The
love hearsay.
The hearsay goes that, as you said, Marius Calhoun was taken down by a group of anarchs, and these and they were young, if I remember correctly, not terribly old,
No.
and
In fact, I was the youngest among them.
that's intriguing. I would have expected more fledglings and people of very young siring age. But that is really all that the whispers say. That, and since we're so far removed from Mississippi, the hearsay gets a little muddled after that.
Yes, I imagine it does. Without being too gauche about the subject,
Of course.
suffice it to say that anarchs here under your domain keep a certain degree of civility. They maintain a air of decorum.
As we must.
That is not so in Jackson.
Hmm.
In Jackson, it is. They will take pleasure in positioning crosses as they crucify Camarilla to make sure the cider sees their child. They will tear them apart, quartering, just to watch the torso skid along the highway, leaving trails, not much left but a bloody mess, which eventually dissolves to ash. There was even one where it was summary executions while we took bets on how many shotgun shots it would take before the kindred would be utterly destroyed. Others had very little time on their hands and simply ended up going to beheadings with machetes, taking rotted skulls as trophies.
How grisly.
And even, oh, this is not the grisly, this is abridged version. But that did not. It was the final bit. Calhoun himself was utterly destroyed. Body, mind, and he leaves it at that. As he's pretty sure Delgado can pick it up.
Hmm. Hmm.
It seemed only appropriate given the fact that he drained the city of its life's blood that such favors would be returned in kind.
Well, you would know better than I, seeing as you have first-hand experience.
Yes, I do. And I know this. When Calhoun approaches this city, he's going to take it apart piecemeal. When he does, he is going to hammer you, most of all. And I would suspect he will do so through Baron Batista first.
Through Batista.
Yes.
Because of Ventru ties?
Yes. Above all else, he may have the goal to end up making it very clear that they have a common enemy. And in doing so, Batista would end up believing that they have something to gain by making sure Calhoun can end up making his way into your domain, disrupting it there. He would have an ally amongst the Anarchs. What is one Camarilla with a personal vendetta compared to the gaining of more territory and influence? Of course, she could not make this public knowledge. But if he was smart, he would end up coming in with that. He would end up haggling, using her supports to force your action. Buer, who is free to end up traveling between many other domains, who is not fond of you, would certainly give information on what where I would be, and what matters you would have me handle. That information would fetch quite a price, one that Calhoun is no doubt willing to pay. What's a few boons to a blood vendetta? And so, with that, and with Mr. Duval's insight, and Madame Batista's secret aid, it would put you in a compromised position. Now you have really three choices as I can see it. The first is one that I do not like, but if this is what you wish, then it will be so. You can take my head, offer it to Calhoun, avoid the whole bloody mess, but then you would have to explain to the other son why it is that you offered up a loyal anarch to the head Camarilla over a little bit of territory. I doubt you would be so bold or as foolish. I treat you as a wise ruler, after all.
Certainly I dislike that option.
The second is you prepare yourself for the long haul. You anticipate this, and you use it as bait. I will follow your rule, most certainly. The hopes being that if you do it properly, you can survive minimal damage, and Calhoun and I will come face to face, and then let come what may once the blood feud is over. Either the Calhoun will be dead or I will be dead. But then there's the third. I believe this is the option you will take, but this is your decision. You get me in contact first with Baron Batista. I start to cement relations in that portion of the city. Ahead, Calhoun. Try and worm him out. Doing so forces him to Jameson. Jameson, well, maybe has a lot of firepower. Ultimately cannot afford for this war to get hot. Kyle will have the least amount of resources and become far less troublesome. But it is Batista who has the most likely knowledge on how Calhoun will enter the city.
Yes, as As I have been made very aware, is that commonly for Ventru, business is business. Batista. She's hard to gauge sometimes. It's tricky, that one. But if we can stave off Calhoun before he can really make any damage onto this city, Lord knows we don't need a loud fight. I trust you not to make a loud fight, Urien.
I will keep it as quiet as possible. And if it must be loud, then I will handle it appropriately. Make sure it's quick. Large amount of noise in a very short period of time is often forgot. Loud over the course of months. That's something to be avoided on all fronts.
Exactly. We don't need loud for prolonged. But since this is a blood feud between you and Calhoun, I would expect you to be able to deal with it accordingly. I will trust your judgment.
Have I proven anything otherwise?
You are talented. You are quick in your investigations. I will not deny that you are one wonderful asset to this entire domain. But do not get me wrong. If this gets out of hand, I will settle it.
This is why I appreciate your candor, Baron Delgado. I will handle the matter to the best of my ability. And me handling it means I need to get in contact with Baron Batista.
While you were on your way, I did look and see if I could find something of use to get in contact with Baron Batista. The most dislikable way is to go through Buer and the other Nosferatu because of the simple fact that they don't affiliate themselves with anyone. They have no loyalties here.
No. And that is a blind spot I do not intend to keep. You believe Bureau will end up being the best way to contact?
I know he and I do not get along, but if there's one thing I do know about that man is that he is cocky. And if there's something to be gained, he will do something. Even if that means taking on extra debts, if he feels that he's in the right and will earn more by doing so, then he will. He's lived long enough to know that.
Yes. Well, I will have to end up having him send word.
Since he doesn't get along with any of the barons, it's tricky. So, a more guaranteed route. I'm trying to think. There may be other Nosferatu who might be a little bit more how shall I say it? Pleasant, I suppose, to be around. Perhaps seeking out someone else would be in your benefit as well.
I like to get to know everyone who comes and goes through our domains, respectively. But if I must go through Buer, I will do so. If I can avoid it, well, him being under my thumb means that he is under yours.
That's entirely fair. Do what you can to persuade him to be prompt.
I will do so. If there is any other service we may provide, Baron Delgado.
Just get to the bottom of this, Urien. The rest can wait.
Hail be Baron Delgado. He looks to Alfonso.
Hail, Baron Delgado.
And with that, he turns, or takes 4 steps back. And on the 5th, pivots on heel, ready to end up leaving Baron Delgado's presence should he allow it.
Have a good night, both of you.
As we will.
Yes, sir. And Alfonso follows your lead with the steps and follows you out of the house. And the butler escorts you back to your van in the driveway.
So at this point, Urien does a quick check on the van, trackers, seeing brake lines, etc., before he starts it up.
Untouched.
Fantastic. Urien takes the keys from Alfonso and gets ready to drive. It's getting pretty late.
That it is.
Time to go home.
Sun up is only in a couple hours.
He starts driving. And as he does so, he looks to Alfonso and looks back to the road. Well, go ahead and ask your questions then.
Who's Calhoun? I'm not entirely sure I understood 100%. You did something in Jackson, right? And
Yes.
And were pivotal in some taking down a prince.
Prince is title given to one in Camarilla who owns a city. It is the one who maintains charge. It is the one who makes all the rules, the traditions, who says who works with who aligns with who. Under a prince's decree, this 3-way baron would never happen. It would be stamped down. You would not be given a license to feed. You would probably be destroyed the moment that you arrived.
That's kind of shitty.
The ability to create childer is only decreed by the prince, and the destruction of another is only decreed by a prince. That is what we stop.
The prince is basically like king, judge, jury, executioner, maybe?
His executioner would be that of a sheriff or scourge, but yes, you get the idea.
Weird.
The Calhoun we referenced is his great-grandchild.
Okay. And this guy is after you.
He has a problem with any of the others who may be responsible for his bloodline's demise. And it would seem that he has finished his work with the rest of my coterie and is now coming to finish the job.
That sucks.
Remember what I told you about I don't have friends.
Right.
And this is why.
Damn. That's really shitty.
If
mean,
you are not...
Like,
Go on.
it's kind of a double-edged sword, because I can understand why someone would be upset that family got killed, but then I'd also understand that, no, it's kind of shitty that he's coming after you because of that, because, I don't know, did you serve some kind of... You liberated it from a tyrant? Wouldn't people be, like, glad about that? Maybe not that guy, but...
Some were glad at the fall of Prince Marius Calhoun.
He's like a shitty guy, right? That's what Baron Delgado was saying? That was you were saying?
That's what Baron Delgado was saying, yes. He grips the steering wheel a little bit tighter.
I mean, if this guy was like a tyrant prince, I don't know. Tyrants always have a way of falling.
That seems to be the case.
I don't know. I don't know anything about like what was going on in Jackson, because I'm only a couple of years embraced, I guess, but...
What you need to keep in mind, Alfonso, is right now you have an individual, Kyle Calhoun, is an individual of unwavering will. Think on what it would take to look at your great-great-great-grandfather. I want you to try and picture that as a mortal, as close as you are. Now, hanging on to a point of vengeance and going on with that for so long, hunting from person to person, place to place, to go to Dallas, and now to come here. Over someone that you knew only as your Lord. That is dedication. That is honor. Honor is a playbook that has gone out of style recently.
It seems like a lot of effort to go through.
And he would probably do so for another 200 or 300 years.
There's always the option you could leave the city.
For what? To leave you and them alone? To get eaten alive in this domain? Do you think you and her could handle it alone? You two lovebirds.
I don't think it's like that.
No, I know exactly what it's like. Now...
Oh, that's just got weird.
And now he is coming. those of Marius's bloodline are dangerous, focused. He went out of his way to make sure that every single person he ended up creating, every person he made, was regimented and ready. That they would hold his banner. To everyone else, he was a tyrant. To his own, he was loved. And being a loved tyrant, I don't think you can think of a more dangerous adversary, save for the fanatic trying to continue on his legacy by taking out his killer.
Huh. That's a lot.
It was something I had foreseen for some time. I only suppose I am grateful he is coming at me, as young as he may be.
Well, I'm definitely back M, and she backs you, so I guess I back you too. I mean, that's as much as that would count for.
It is only as much counts as much as you make it count, Mr. Hendrick. But the sentiment is appreciated. I thought it was only fair you would listen in and know exactly what you were being dragged into.
Well, prepare for the worst.
What do you know of Ventru, Alfonso?
Can't say I know a lot. I barely know what that even means.
Well,
I know that there's different that kindred are different in their different ways, and some of them visible, like with Nosferatu, and others with just what they can do. But even that's tricky business. You can never tell with a person. Like Baron Delgado versus you, I did like. There's no way to tell.
that is true. That is true. But there is a way for me to tell, Alfonso. It's the same way I found out who your sire was. It is a gift that I have been honing since as far as I can remember. Oh,
You said something about blood magic, right?
Yes.
That's pretty cool.
For you, it may develop into something else. But should Calhoun provide uncooperative, I'm going to have to ask something of you that you may never forgive yourself for. And when that happens, well, we'll see when we get there.
Cross that bridge when we come to it.
Yes. But it is only fair that you know it is coming.
Alright. have some studying to do. Maybe
Well,
some tinkering too.
I hope so. I need to consider ways to end up warding myself from his influence. It'll be difficult. That's what they are, after all. Influencers. With that, Urien continues to drive to the Haven.
And that, I believe, is where we should end the session for tonight.
I think so.
As Urien and Alfonso drive into the night and make their way back to the Haven, what are Urien's thoughts? As a silence just kind of overrides the sound of the vehicle.
Urien thinks back. Thinks back to all his regrets. He would cry if it were not so. If it wasn't something that he couldn't hide. It's something he has to hide from Alfonso. He thinks of Theodore. Thinks of Liliana. He thinks of the reason he went to war in the first place. He thinks of his long-lost child there. And looks to Alfonso, even briefly. How he's been struggling, trying to relive or recreate everything he lost since Jackson. It's too much. And all comes back to one name. Calhoun.
And that concludes this vampire story in the Alamo City for tonight. Thank you everyone for watching. I appreciate all of you. I am only just
Thank
looking
you.
at chat. The microwaved coffee blasphemy, yes. Delightful. So, yes, Urien, you get all of the experience for today. So that's
Yay.
4 points of experience. Congratulations.
Okay. I did 4 points of experience.
And Hypnotic Gamer is here as well.
Thank you. Thank you, Hypnotic. And Volvo, who I know is still lurking.
Volvo's always
Raven.
lurking. Who isn't lurking? When
Yep.
is Volvo not lurking?
Yeah.
But yes,
That
shout outs to
gives
them.
me 5 unspent experience.
Yep.
I'm gonna hold off.
Okay. Save up for some things.
I'm gonna save up for some things. I think there's certain things I'm gonna need to get ready for.
Yep. How dared you all? Hi, Volvo.
I gotta figure out, like, oh god, I gotta get ready for war. and that is going to be tough.
Hmm.
But
The plot thickens.
yeah, all right.
Thank you so much for playing, Derek.
Hey, I wouldn't miss him for the world.
Thank you. I'm a seat in my pants kind of storyteller, and I 100% can trust you to also seat of your pants with me, so it's fine.
Was it with you in my pants?
It's pants. Sorry, I'm dying over here, guys. Okay, thanks. Bye. Um,
Yeah.
but
Well,
I hope everybody is
uh,
enjoying what's going on in San Antonio Spy Night so far. So,
backstory's coming back. Yes.
ah ha 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 ha, ha that's what I'm good at.
Yay. Oh God.
I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. Oh no, we just got clipped by Hypnotic.
You're
what?
goddamn right.
What's wrong with my pants? I think that's my first actual clip ever. Congratulations, Hypnotic. You have stolen that clip virginity. But yes. Anyway, we are going to sign off for San Antonio by Night for tonight. So thank you so much for watching, everybody. We will be back tomorrow for more Mouse's Embrace drawing. And hopefully crank out all of page 11 tomorrow. So hopefully there's that.
Yay.
I think I have 2 frames left on it, and we're good. So,
Nice.
yay! So we're gonna be doing that tomorrow and the next day. So tune in
Fantastic.
when you get a chance. If you haven't already, those people who are lurking, please hit the follow button. I will love your face forever, and you will be a cool kitty. But yeah, good night, everybody. Thank you so
Good
much for watching.
night.